You made it to the final episode of the 3-part series where Tia and I do a debrief of my time at Vyve by Vayner. Thanks so much for listening to part 1 and part 2. Really excited to have this full debrief with Tia and kind of recap the entire thing. Please make sure to subscribe to the podcast if you guys haven't already. Really looking forward to having some future guests on and still digging into a bit more of my journey as an entrepreneur. So hope you enjoy part 3.
What made you want to participate in Vyve? What were like the big selling points for you with the program?
Yes, initially, James set up a phone call with me because I did the 4Ds session, which is a 1-day deep dive about your business that me and Ike went to up in New York. And it was kind of just sold as like, this is going to be a 4Ds on steroids, but also we're going to have 10 other entrepreneurs or C-suite executives that are in the program that you'll be able to learn from and get to, connect with and network with. And weekly, we're going to bring in speakers that are experts in all these different industries. And they kind of asked me like, what kind of speakers would you want to have in? And I was like, I don't know, like I want to know more about paid media. So they had a paid media person. I didn't know that I wanted to know more about a lot of the things that they brought in, which ended up being cool. So even going into it, like I didn't really have a whole lot of expectations because we were the first ever class to do this. So there was no one to refer to and be like, hey, did you get a lot out of it? But I know how much Gary respects James and also respects Andrea. And so I was like, if he's willing to put these two people together to build this program that is this extensive and, he's putting his name on it and he obviously wants it to work. Like I just had faith in that it would end up being worthwhile. And yeah, the amount of like crazy speakers they've had and rooms that I've been in with other people that are just, like the head of it. Marketing for Amazon was at a party. The head of Meta was at a party with us. Like, yeah, it's just crazy. The
but you didn't know that going into it. I didn't know that. Yes.
Yeah.
So the selling point was like the unknown and being the first.
Yeah, it was kind of like we're going to do a lot for you guys because you're taking a risk on us, and this is kind of what we have in mind. And it's a hefty price tag, but we know it's going to be worth it. Do you trust us? Yes or no? And I was kind of like, yeah, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. And what's also really cool is like, you mentioned this too, that they kind of did a lot of like the surprise and delight. So it wasn't like they promised you because it was the first ever. They weren't like saying, you're going to get this out of it and that out of it. It was like a lot of the stuff was just kind of, oh my gosh.
Yeah. And some things changed. Like some speakers couldn't end up speaking and they put in different ones, but it was never like we got a downgraded version. Yeah. It's still like,
it was always valuable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Obviously you followed Gary Vee for a while now. So his marketing and content strategy with like pushing out content, being super consistent, you followed that. But since doing Vyve, how has your content strategy changed, if it has at all?
I think it changed the most from the 4Ds thing because that's like when I hired Bree, like our community manager. But it's funny because even in Vyve, we didn't talk a whole lot about organic content strategy, even though that's all that it seems like Gary talks about, right? But it definitely has like seeing what the other people are doing and talking to them about their strategies and doing it and learning more about that. It definitely, and when Vyve happened is also when Gary came out with his most recent Day Trading Attention book, which I listened to the audio version of. That I think definitely made me look at the content stuff differently. And not that I've done it enough myself, but like I've pushed Bree to do the memes of the videos and try these different things. And I did a few green screen videos and like just trying different things. But I'm at the point now where I think I have enough of like backlogged content from doing podcasts and going to Arrival last year, doing 4Ds, like even like I did some day in the life stuff when we did have speakers. So
love
like,
that.
yeah,
I'm
cool. I'm trying to explore that more now. And I really want to just get way ahead with content where I have like 3 posts a day scheduled out for the next like 2 weeks. And then in the next 2 weeks, create more content so that the following 2 weeks has that, you know? So I, in my head, I know what needs to be done, but I haven't necessarily done that yet. The whole Vyve wasn't necessarily about content, which is really interesting, but I learned from everyone a little bit of like maybe what types of content I should be putting out, or I mean, even doing the retreat like made me think about like content a little bit differently about, you know, what people maybe don't talk about enough in business and would be good topics to cover. So I think the implementation of all of that stuff is going to happen sooner rather than later. So my hope is that now that I've seen all of these strategies like in live time, that I can implement them and see what happens, you know?
Yeah, a couple of things on that is it's funny because like Vyve there wasn't like a focus on like how to create content to better your brand, all that stuff, obviously. But it's so funny, the few times that I did go with you to any like Vyve events, people, some of the others that were there are just getting content, like so much content. Even you, like you're building content, like you guys are wanting to share. And it's funny that he's like kind of curated this like culture amongst the people who are business owners and operators, like that it's so important to like show like the personality and like the real human interaction behind like these brands. So yeah, I feel like even though that wasn't like something that they touched on, I mean, what's a really cool thing, and it wasn't like taught to you directly, like, hey, you need to have a team of people following you and recording. Tell me how many times you've went to a Vyve or Gary Vee thing where he has a literal crew of people filming it all. We went to Gary
There's like
Vee's,
3 people just always filming.
Not even that. We went to the Vayner offices in California.
Yeah.
There are people walking around with like cameras and like their phones, and everyone is just getting content all day, every day.
Yeah, they're just used to it.
So why do you think that's so important for that company culture? Because they're constantly putting out media, like.
Yeah, I mean that's people care a lot about the
behind the scenes.
Yeah, not necessarily behind the scenes, but like who the people are that work for the business and who the leader is behind the business. Like Prime, Logan Paul's brand, for example, is built on Logan Paul. It's not built on the drink being a good drink.
Yeah, no one thinks of Vayner Media.
Yeah, like people think of Gary Vee, but he has a huge business. Like people care a lot about the people that work for businesses nowadays, and they want to work with a person, a human that they know about and have learned about, you know? And so I think that's just kind of what they've created. And if you really want to put out 3 pieces of content a day on every platform, you have to be capturing a bunch and then just condensing that, you know, or
You're
else
good. One day of getting content, you can get a month worth of content a day.
Yeah, if you do it right,
Jesus. Yeah, no, it was wild seeing how many people it was like cameramen. And it wasn't like a crew. It was like just people
individual
with cameras who have like, I'm so used to seeing you like walking around when we're doing hikes or any like of our trips with like your camera gear. It was like that times 10.
Like 10 of me.
And I'm like, if Justin didn't go down this career path that like you've gone down, I'm like, I could so see you doing something like that.
Oh yeah, I would love doing that.
So even I could so see it.
Yeah.
So it's funny that even though you didn't like get schooled on content directly, it was so surrounding you in like all aspects that it's like, how are you not inspired or like taking mental notes along the way? Because I feel like they were preaching about content sometimes. Like
but they didn't sell us on like, we're gonna teach you how to do content.
It just so happened that like when we would go to the Vayner offices, they had TikTokers there that were talking about their strategies with content, and we were just there at that time. It was right place, right time.
Yeah, well, it was also because Gary came out with a book at the same time, and so there was a lot of that happening. But that's all they talk about anyways, is content.
What was really cool and funny, really cool and coincidental is there were 2 like TikTokers there. And one of them does like luxury travel. Yeah. And I thought her speaking was really interesting because in a world of like the ecotourism, you don't think like luxury. Yeah. And I think I like to say that like the kayaking thing is like the upscale. It's almost like the glamping of camping, right? Like the clear kayaking is like the notch above.
We're not just like a rinky dink, you know, side of the road thing. Like
Yeah.
we try to create this whole experience out
Yeah.
of it. It's definitely an
A
enhanced
little notch
version.
up.
Yeah.
And I think like we've all had that kayak experience if you've kayaked or just, I remember my first couple times kayaking, you show up and you rent like a canoe or kayak that looks like maybe there's 3
That's been
spiders
used for 18
inside
years.
of it.
Yeah.
And like you don't know where your butt's sitting. So you sit on a life jacket because you don't want to get your butt dirty. Like, so I feel like it was interesting hearing her speak because she was saying that luxury travel was kind of up there and people want to see like, if they are not going on a luxury trip, like they kind of want to see how it goes. And it was also interesting to hear how long it takes her to like bust out content.
Create,
because she likes to live in the moment and experience.
The thing and not just go to film.
Which I also loved.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I thought that was really interesting too.
What was her name? LAX to Luxury or something like that?
I think it was.
Yeah.
And then the other guy was more of like the busting out content
thing. JT?
Yeah.
Yeah, JT is a great follow.
Yeah.
I followed him for a while and it was cool watching him speak in person about his process and his outlook at it. And he owns a whole agency that like connects creators to businesses so that your business can kind of have a face of your business, in the form of a creator.
Yep. Cool. And again, this is like a thing that wasn't like on
wasn't planned.
No, we were in the office and like everyone, there were, I don't know, like 100 people in the office that were all listening to this.
And the global head of strategy for TikTok was there
as well.
too.
Yes, we didn't learn content directly, but like there were so many things. I didn't know if maybe you heard like a tidbit that was like changed kind of like the way that.
I think the book did that more than Vyve. I think the book did that, but they did a good job of like weaving in some of that with the Vyve content.
Yep.
So I don't know if there was like one like moment in Vyve where I'm like, oh, I need to do it that way, but it was more of just like seeing that all happen.
So I'm not speaking for you obviously, but like there's something that I thought was really great is during Vyve, each of the Vyve members got to have a call with Gary, a little Zoom meeting. And what I thought was really cool is, so we have this community platform on Facebook. We wanted to learn like we wanted to have something to where after people did a tour with us, how they can interact with each other and like have.
Yeah, it's not just the end of their experience.
No, it's like,
with us.
How can we get them excited to like talk to each other, interact with us, like feel like they can connect with us rather than just like a business transaction.
Yeah.
And I liked that you asked Gary, one of your questions was like, how can it be more of like a back and forth instead of talking to the customers? Like,
a lot of times it's just us posting and like people like it,
come check
or
out
maybe
our Springs
or maybe
adventure.
they comment on it, but it's not them asking questions or posting a lot. So it's like, how do I do more of that?
Yeah. And I thought what was really cool is that his piece of advice was to like talk to the guests more. And it's funny because you already started doing that and you saw an amazing response. Mm-hmm. So Justin, you have sent out a text message to all the guests one day, or was it just Rock Springs guests?
No, all of them.
To all the guests. And what did you say? I hope you're having a good day.
Yeah, saying happy Tuesday. Hope the rest of your week goes well. This is the founder of Get Up and Go or something. I don't know.
But do you know how many people?
Yeah, we got like 100+ replies that were like,
someone booked a tour.
Thanks so much. Oh my God. I hope everything's going well.
The coolest thing was someone who had a freaking bad experience because they didn't show up.
Yeah.
Like,
someone was like, you guys suck or something.
I'm kidding.
And then I replied saying like, hey, can you give me some more info so I can like look it up and get you a better response and whatever.
Yeah.
And just doing that, like I went in and did some research on what happened and ended up making it right and offered maybe a free tour or something for them to come back out.
And they were like,
wow, that's the coolest thing ever.
I know.
It's that simple, like literally just spending a little bit of time, like interacting with people and hearing them out. And I think people just want to be heard, you know, and like, and know that we care about it more than just a transaction.
Yeah.
And so, that was a good takeaway from that for sure.
What's interesting is like one of the things I've learned from you, and it's one of your superpowers, which is funny. I said that one of my superpowers is listening.
Yeah.
It's actually one of your superpowers, listening to people when they're complaining.
Yeah.
I feel like when I have a customer calling me and they're so upset, like I want to have an answer for everything.
Yeah, you got.
And like Justin has taught me, you've taught me to literally
Just
let them
wait
talk.
until it's quiet and then you can speak.
Because there's so
right?
many times you've been next to me when someone's complaining to me and I'm just like, well,
You want
know,
to correct them right away.
Well, because all the stuff they're saying is not true.
That's everyone's instinct is like you want to just correct people because what they're saying is
not true.
Not true at
They'll
all.
be like, I showed up and the kayaks weren't there, and it's like, no. I want to be like, well, no, actually, you showed up. Justin's like, Tia, I'll get off the phone. He's like, next time, let them. He goes, even though you know it's not true, let them just talk. Let them go. Like let them speak. It goes back
they
to
usually like air themselves out, and then they get to the conclusion themselves that like, oh, maybe I am not telling the full
but
truth.
That is
here.
like a freaking skill that I feel like every business owner should hear, because I feel like that's the key to like, honestly, it resolving itself half the time. I feel like people will
feel like you're listening and they like letting them speak. Yeah.
So at the end of them speaking, do you still correct them, or what do you suggest?
It's very situational.
Yeah.
Like if they're completely wrong, then usually it's like, well, I've spoken to my manager, I've spoken to my team, my tour guides that were there. We all came to the same conclusion that this is like kind of what happened. Yeah. Am I incorrect in saying blank? And then like they're like, well, yeah, you might be, and then you get to the bottom of it, right?
But let them go.
Yeah, just let them go. Yeah.
And it's funny because like I said earlier, I said my superpower is listening, but when it's like something like that, I can't. Like I have to have an answer to everything, and sometimes it's okay not to have the answer. But the text messaging thing was.
Yeah, it's really cool to see people's responses.
But I feel like a year ago you wouldn't have done something like that.
Yeah, well, because I mean, to do that cost me $800 to text everyone, and to then give a free tour cost me another couple $100 and whatever. So like, let's say it cost me $1,000. I used to think of it as like, that $1,000 is just a waste, quote unquote. But now it's like, no, that's how you build brand. And you may not see the benefits of it that day, but like maybe 2 months later, someone's like, wow, remember when the owner of that company texted me? And like, if you can keep on the front of people's minds in a positive way, like it's only going to come back to you.
Yeah.
And like I didn't do it for the hope of like a return on it that day. I didn't even do it for the hope of a return on it ever. I was just like, this is a nice thing to do.
It out, yeah.
Let's show that we have a little bit of a personality here and like open the door for conversation. And it worked.
It was
really well.
And it was also, I feel like it was fun for you.
Yeah, it was fun. Like you don't realize how many people like care about the business, and people told us stories about.
I know.
We've
their
been
day.
with you guys multiple times, or just their personal life.
I know you were, and what I loved is that like your message wasn't like, hey, here's $10 off your next tour. It was like hope you're having a good weekend or whatever you said.
Yeah. It was literally just hope you're doing good.
And some people didn't someone was like something like their donut or something didn't get delivered. We should have.
Yeah, we were going to try to like figure out where they live, but that would have taken a lot.
But like some people just want to ask, and they'll remember that, and that's like an experience without even like booking a tour with us, which I think is so cool.
Yeah,
they might post it on freaking random fun fact. One of our locations, their like employee had a flat tire, or whatever. They ended up paying for their car to get like the tire repaired, or like even paid for the Uber, or did something for them.
The tow truck.
The freaking guide ended up sending it to like a viral Instagram page that was called like
FU I quit.
Yeah.
It's
which is usually
negative.
About awful like experiences at jobs, like people, I don't know, fast food
this was like one of the only positive posts they've ever done.
And we got a freaking shout out. So
it's crazy.
Don't go into stuff doing it for recognition, but like you never freaking know.
Yeah, you do the right thing and the right things end up happening.
Good comes out of good.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. You got like 5 different good things out of that. Okay.
Our tangents.
Sorry. This is an exciting one. Was there any connections that you made during the program that have led you to new opportunities, or like collabs coming up, or anything like exciting?
Yeah. I mean,
that you can share.
Yeah, James introducing me to Thorsten, a guy in Germany who opened 100+ subways, ended up coming to the U.S. to visit me and our locations and see what we can maybe work together. So I have a call with him next week to talk through that more and see what that looks like. That's huge. I think even the people that are in Vyve, like talking to Mandy, who's the CMO of Michael's, like she hopped on a call with me and helped me through the hiring process when I hired our director of franchise operations. She kind of yeah, from her perspective, like she's built these massive teams. She used to work at Kroger and now she works at Michael's. She's worked in these really big roles and with big teams. And I'm like, how do you build culture and how do you know who to hire? It's tough. And so like talking to her was really cool, being able to get that understanding. Even the bus ride out to our retreat, like Habib and Jasmine were two great people to talk to more about. And we ended up sitting down and like I showed them the new CRM that I'm building, and like just that connection I think could lead to things. I don't know what or why or when or how, but like maybe. Who knows? The amount of people that the Vayner world are connected to, and then also these other 10 people that we're in Vyve are connected to, Carrie and her whole Earthkind business, like
an amazing freaking bug spray, by the way.
Bug spray. Like her bug spray is out in Titusville now. So like these little connections that just like, like add to fun things over time, you know, is like, I think if I ever wanted to come out with like a brand that's focused on giving back to the earth, like I would partner with Carrie on that, you know, like she'd be amazing for that. They connected me to Manny, who's done a lot of huge mascot logo work, branding work. He even like helped Gary create all of the VFriend 2.0 drawings and stuff like that. So connected me with Manny, who's building our mascot.
Which could be so exciting
stuff. Yeah, it's really, really cool. Helping like with some of the branding stuff, colors and just new things that we're excited for. And yeah, they connected me to him and like, even if him and I didn't end up working together, they were still willing to just say, hey, Manny, can you hop on a 30-minute or an hour call with Justin and just talk?
Yeah.
But even that, like for Manny to be like, yeah, sure, why not? Like pick up the call, spend 30 minutes to an hour just talking about my brand, the business, what the vision is. And like, you know, like he gave me a lot of feedback even just on that call that I could have then taken and done my own thing. But we ended up working together and Gary was really excited to hear that. And I guess when I told Gary that I was working with Manny, he like texted Manny and was like, hey, I heard you're working with Justin.
That's so
like,
funny.
So cool. So,
you know what?
Yeah, it's been really cool.
I feel like being in Vyve is, I think it was like Twitter or maybe Instagram. It's like when you're verified on Twitter or Instagram, like the only DMs you can like filter your DMs by like verified people. Yeah. So it's like being in Vyve, you're like.
Verivived.
You're verivived. You're verivived. You're like verified. So it's like these people probably have people trying to connect with them. And it's like they don't want to waste their time talking to 300 people who might not seriously want to like be serious about it. So it's like being in Vyve, I feel like you're like verified through Andrea and Gary's people. So it's like when you want to hop on a call and connect with like these business professionals, it's like, no, they're verified. Like they're good. You can they're like filtered out.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's kind of fun.
Yeah, no, it's really
That's
cool.
a huge perk.
And part of it too is like they told us that going into it. If you want to talk to anyone in the world,
I know, who do you want to talk to?
Yeah, and so that really gets your wheels spinning of like who could I talk to?
I know. You were trying to come up with like who do I want to talk to?
You know, and so I had to think of like what things would really help my business. And a mascot is something I've always wanted, and Gary talked a lot about. So that was really cool to connect to him. And then Thorsten was one that they came up with because they're like, hey, we know this guy that's done franchising on a large level. And the BurgerFi guy.
I was just going to say that and I wasn't sure.
Yeah, another franchise. It
was the most random
franchise.
Yeah. In LA, they were like, here, chat with him. He'd be amazing franchisee.
Yeah, they're like, you guys should talk to each other.
This guy was a chicken connoisseur. Like every
fried chicken.
Chicken tenders, chicken fingers, chicken burgers, chicken this, chicken that. And like he's going through his phone and it's like just a spring or whatever, not a spring, like pizza, a little river in his backyard. And I'm like, oh, he's like legit. Like I said, they're almost like filtered out and it's like they're connecting you to people who are pretty legit, you know? So I think that is
a huge takeaway from
my questions. Sure. Okay.
They're good.
Okay. I have a couple more. A lot of these are like amazing questions. So let's get the use out of them. Those are kind of the same. Has your vision for Get Up and Go shifted in any way since doing the program or like, I don't know.
A little bit. Yeah. I think, they make you kind of think about the future more. I live in like the 1 to 2 month world a lot. Like what's going to happen?
Even 1 to 2 days.
Yeah, I know. like what's going to happen in the next month. And I don't often get to the 5 month ahead world. But you have to, in order to hire people or make changes or figure out systems that you want to implement. And so a few of those conversations made me think about that more. The Damon John conversation with the, obtaining new customers is 25 times more expensive than just retaining your current ones. That made me really think about our new CRM system and like
texting platform,
all of that. The negotiator that we talked to really made me think about like the future with our current booking software and what that looks like. Is that sustainable over time as we continue to grow? And give them, 6% of all of those bookings. Like, what does that end up looking like after 5 years from now? So it made me think about those things more for sure. I do think there was just little things along the way that I was like, oh, that's a really smart way to look at that or to consider this. Even the conversation with Nick Sonnenberg about the efficiencies and me creating that whole help website for Get Up and Go, like just the little time, there's like a bunch of little things I felt like that happened along the way that will save me so much time and effort and money and have given me more of a clear direction on that. And I mean, even in August on the monthly call that I recorded, I was like, hey, our vision is going to be, I want to get to 50 locations by the end of next year, which I've never really put a number out to anyone. It's always just been like, we'll see how we grow, and so now like I want to, I think one thing they've talked about is like how important it is to share your vision with everyone and not just like, I live with it in my head, but I never really
say it out loud.
Yeah. I never even like think about like,
I know. Yeah.
Do I have direct goals, direct like things that I'm trying to achieve over time, and how do those all correlate to each other? And usually it comes off in the form of me just saying, hey, we're changing our systems, and no one like, I need to reiterate the vision of why we're changing the systems.
Because I want 50 locations next year. It's important that we have systems like changing how we collect royalties, because it's, when there's 50 people, you can't be like, hey, going through your checks, did that person send me their royalty check
and
this
I can't
month?
Spend 100 hours, 2 hours per location doing that.
Can't.
It's like I'm never going to be able to focus on growing the business. So
or personal life.
Or have much of a personal life.
You've got to.
There goes our bike rides.
There goes our bike rides. There goes our Goldens. For the next Vyve class, is there any advice that you'd give them going into it?
Yeah, I think they should ask for what they really want. Like, ask a lot to James and Andrea and Julia and the whole team. Like, don't be afraid to ask for more conversations or ask to talk to more people. Like, I kind of felt, even though they told me to do that, I kind of still like feel like I'm taking up people's time. I don't want to do that.
No, soak it up.
I need to do more of that. I need to spend more time. So even yesterday, I talked to the negotiator that we had on months ago.
That's cool.
Yeah. And like, I'm trying to push myself to do that, like ask for that extra time. So I think they should ask for what they really want to get out of it, but also like have a more clear understanding of what they want to get out of it than I did going into it. But they also like going into it, they talked a lot about people at this like transitional moment in their lives. And I'm not necessarily in a transitional moment in my life. I'm still know that I want to grow, get up and go. Like, I'm not trying to separate myself from it. Like, I'm still working that. And so for people that are going through transitions, I think it's even more useful because they have some really good resources and feedback and understanding of what big transition looks like. So I think just knowing yourself a lot going into it and asking yourself maybe some of those questions, like, am I going through a transition? Who do I want to talk to? What do I want to get out of this? And knowing that better, you probably would get more out of it if you knew those answers to those questions going into it.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, I also think that what I really liked is that before Vyve like officially started, you obviously had a clear direction of like how long it was going to take, like the amount of time.
Yeah.
And I think like a big one is you always made yourself very present. Like even when we scheduled like trips.
Don't miss.
No.
Don't miss out.
I feel like to really get the full impact of Vyve, like like you did, you just every Friday you knew that there was meetings. Like we'd be driving and you'd had the Zoom on and we were like actively listening. It's
I did it from a kayak one time.
Yeah, you did it from a kayak. Yeah. Yes, you did. You even like showed them under the spring water, I think.
Yeah.
So I think being super present and just like knowing, being committed to it. Like
show up.
Don't just sign up for it. And I don't think anyone did that, but like don't just sign up for it. Like be really fully in and committed, and like anytime, you know, there's a Zoom or like an activity, like you're going to be around these really respected people in the industry and do it.
Yeah. Don't miss out on these things. Like Ronsley lives in Australia and was on these calls at like 4 a.m.
One time we chatted, I think he like had a layover in Dubai and still showed up.
Calls, But that's, I mean, you're paying for it. Like you should want to, and you should be there, you know? Yeah.
So I feel like I loved that you were so present, and I feel like, yes, you got the value very soon after doing Vyve, but I think you saw it through all the way, and like you were always taking initiative to make sure that like, hey, my schedule's cleared for this. This is important. I'm committed to this. There was a lot of emphasis during the Vyve program of wellness. Was there any strategies that you learned during the program that helped you manage stress or help avoid burnout, or anything you can share that like really stood out to help with your wellness?
Yeah, I think as a whole, I never really have thought about wellness too much, not nearly as much as I should, especially being like an entrepreneur that works from home, doesn't really get out much. And, you know, maybe I go and like go to locations once in a while, or go hang out with friends once in a while, or go to dinner or whatever. But like work wise, like I'm here every day in my office working. You don't think about the wellness side of it too much. You just deal with it and you're like, oh, well, you know, whatever. I'm a little tired today, or I'm a little burnt out, but I'm still doing it. So it made me think about that more. You know, we had a sleep expert on, and we have our Oura rings now, which have been really, we love them.
Our Oura rings.
And just tracking sleep. You know, I did a sleep study, knowing that I have mild sleep apnea, and now next step is like, okay, how do we treat that and work on that? Just being healthier. Like even the first day or the second day when we were there, and Mona and Chef Palak were cooking for us like the healthy foods, and just like giving us a better understanding of that. And even at VCon, there's a whole wellness presentation. That was so good. So many good things.
Sleep is so important.
You like literally, I think that's like everyone's feedback has been that like sleep is like one of the most important things, and something that I never paid much attention to until recently, where I've felt like, man, I'm getting a good amount of sleep, but I don't really feel like I'm getting a good amount of sleep.
Rested,
you know?
Yeah.
And it's because of the sleep apnea thing. So I think like that, and just acknowledging that, you know, like I do need to ask for help if I feel overwhelmed, or just understanding the mental state that I'm in when I'm doing work, or also like understanding that because I'm in a room doing work every day, like my tour guides don't get to see that. My franchisees don't really get to see that. They don't know that I'm like working a lot every day doing these things for them, and caring about them behind the scenes. So it's like even maybe communicating that more to people, and not saying, hey, I'm working my ass off every day, but like just reinforcing like, hey, thank you guys.
I'm seeing what you're doing.
Yeah, I see the work that you're putting in. Like, thank you, you know, and acknowledging that piece of it a little bit more. I feel like there's been a lot of wellness things that have come from it. And you and I were going to the gym a lot, which we need to get back on that grind of doing, but I've been traveling a lot, riding our bikes, getting outside.
I love my Pilates.
But yeah, you've been doing really good with that. Spending more time outside, and like, even we were talking about like different lighting at nighttime. Like we got the hatch next to our bed.
Oh my gosh, guys. Like, shout out hatch, shout out Oura ring.
Yeah. Like we've actually done some of the things, like, and we got the cold pillows too.
I have, so listen, if there's one thing that you should implement in your home, and we got my parents on it. Fun fact, we lived with my parents for like 3 months after our wedding while our house was being built. And we turned them on to this. Keep your house cold at night. Like if you lower your temp to what was like the ideal was like between
like 61 and 68.
I know it
like,
costs money, but like
it doesn't cost much if you look at it though.
I mean,
and if
what's the
equates to
value of
better sleep? Yeah. I mean,
we keep ours at 68, 69 at night.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's good. It is so nice to sleep in the cold.
Anyways.
Yes.
Cold pillows.
Cold pillows, Oura Ring Hatch, recipe for.
Wait, you were talking about we stayed with your parents and then you went to cold temperature.
No, I was saying when we stay, I was like, if there's something you can do, like lower your temperature. We stayed with my parents. We transitioned them, and they've never been the same.
Yeah, I thought you were also going to say cold pillow because we got your mom on the.
I
cold
did get
pillow
my mom.
too.
My mom has hot flashes. Shout out menopause, and I got my mom a pillow that's cooling. So I just they say that the cooler your body is, the better you sleep. So cold temperature, cold pillow. Every morning we literally. That's disgusting. Can they see that?
Probably.
They can literally get down.
Rainy.
Every morning we get up and we're so excited to check like our sleep score. It's nice because you might be like, oh, I had shitty sleep last night. But when you actually can like pull it up and it tracks your sleep, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that not only are you learning about wellness, you're actually doing things to implement how to be better with wellness in our everyday life. So we've been eating so much better.
Next step is a bed that cools.
I don't know about that. He was like looking
She was raving about
it. I just don't know if I like the look of it.
Yeah.
I'm into the
I get
aesthetics. It's literally like a big blow dryer machine under your bed.
I get that.
Absolutely not. We can figure out a way around it.
Hey, if it's better sleep, it's better sleep.
I think we can.
You were just praising the better sleep.
But I think we can get there without the blow dryer under the bed.
Okay.
Okay. I think the only other questions I have here. I mean, from a partner perspective.
From your perspective.
If you have a partner entering Vyve, call me at 1-800. No, I think what's really important is having like a good support system. Mm-hmm. Just be a listening ear after people do Vyve. No, I feel like it was really nice to have a supportive, probably for you to have such a supportive partner.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, it was fun having you come to the couple events that you came to.
That was so fun.
Seeing everything happen in live time, getting to understand.
I learned so much.
More about who everyone is, and meeting Gary and seeing who he is in person, and then just weekly like debriefing about the phone calls and who I talked to on the Zoom call, that week, and
so fun,
and the little takeaways from that, and the implementing these different things, and me just being like, hey, we need to try this. Like someone just said it on a call, let's do it. And you're like, yeah, let's try it and see, like, let's see it. Let's do it. And, that part of it's been really cool. And also like, again, it's a hefty price tag. So, being on board with that piece of it, and you're kind of like saying, you believe in me because you want me to go and do this thing that I'm thinking is going to be worth it. So that piece of it is cool too. To have your support in doing it was definitely cool. Like at first it's like, you're spending how much to do what? And then it's like, okay, if you think it's going to be worth it, and you've had those conversations, you trust me in that, like you're saying, go do it and see what it's like and see how it is. So definitely important to have someone that understands it, supports it, and is behind you in it, and will do whatever is, like I had to go and do things, and you were here taking care of whatever needs to be taken care of. So having someone that will support you through it, so you can show up every Friday on the Zoom calls, or you can go to New Mexico for a week, or you can go to do whatever it is that, that's part of it. Is definitely a big thing from it. So, yeah.
They say happy wife, happy life, but I think it's like happy husband, happy life.
Is it?
I think so.
I think it's just, if you're happy, you're both happy.
Yeah.
It's like.
I was just telling someone that when you're happy with who you're surrounding yourself with, or like in life, everything else is like a domino effect.
Yeah.
Like happy life, happy business, it's happy everything.
Yeah.
It isn't just happy significant other, happy life. It's happy everything.
And it's funny because that was kind of Gary's like ending talk at VCon.
Yes. That was his keynote.
Why are people doing things
let's talk about that.
Don't make you happy?
Hold on. We're talking about that.
What do you want to talk about?
I thought one of the most moving pieces of VCon was during Gary's keynote.
Yeah. The ending one or the opening one?
It's ending keynote, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. At his ending keynote, he had said that he actually mentioned it at dinner the night before that he was going to talk about it. Yeah. But in line or whatever, during these like meet and greet photo things or whatever, he noticed throughout the weekend that there were people who, I think he had met them at an earlier event or something, where they weren't happy with their job. And he was like, then
he met them at a previous VCon where they told him directly, hey, I'm not happy with what I'm doing. How do I change this? And
he said, that's what you do.
Yeah.
Why is it that so many people live
in an unhappy place?
Yes. But what's crazy, and he brought it into perspective, is like, if people work a 9 to 5 days a week, that is so much of we spend so much of our life working. Why would we not change that? Yeah. It's funny, like when people aren't happy in a marriage, they leave a marriage. They spend more time at work, miserable than at the house with their miserable husband or wife. Yeah. So why are people getting divorces but not leaving bad jobs?
Yeah, they need to divorce their jobs.
Divorce your job 2025.
Yeah. No, I do think it's an important takeaway is like that whole ending thing is just, if one person could take something away from it, is like, don't spend time doing the things that you don't like doing. And a lot of that is your work life. You know, if you're miserable, but you're making $150,000 in a year, could you be happy at a nice job making $50,000 a year? Yes. Like, why would you? Who cares about the 150? Like, at the end of the day, if you're not happy, but you're making money, who cares? Like, you're not happy. You're not going to have a fun life if you're not happy every day, you know? So, I think Vyve really pushed that too, is they made us think about like, are you happy in what you're doing currently? And that's why they talk a lot about transition, is because a lot of these people aren't happy with what they're doing and they need some sort of transition. It's a little bit harder as you become C-suite or entrepreneur, owner of an entire business, and people rely on you. It becomes harder and harder. But that's why it's so important to do it now and not keep waiting until you are in that hard position. But
I know,
you know, it's like,
why would you want to
see it with friends? It's like, I tell people all the time, like dude or dudette, you seem unhappy, like in your work. Like,
what did you just say?
Dudette, you know, like, come on, like, why are you doing this? Like,
I know, like, that's one thing that you actually taught me, like, very early on in our relationship. There were so many, and it's funny because I remember when I was like younger, and let's say like I needed to call out of work because I didn't feel good. Like, even, I think I was like 20 years old. Like, I'm texting my mom, like, I don't feel good, Mom. Like, I don't want to go to work. She doesn't even live near me. Yeah. And she's like, oh, you need to call out. And I'm like, I'm scared though.
You're afraid to.
I'm afraid to call. And she's like, you're good. Like, it's almost like I'm looking for that reassurance. And I remember you're just like, what's the big deal? Like, why?
If they care about you.
You have to feel good to go to work. Like, call out. Like, if you don't feel good. Yeah. So what's the difference? If you don't feel good, you're calling out of work. If you don't feel good, why are you going to work? Yeah. I remember there being times where I didn't want to do something and you're just like, don't do it. Like, then why are you doing it? It's not the end of the world.
And like, it's like every time we talk, it's like not me and you, but like me and a different friend. It's like they're complaining about the same thing. And it's 6 months later. And I'm like, what
did you change?
Like, why? It's not going to change unless you change. It
is so important. And I think at our age and even younger, it's even more important. Like, for the younger ages, if you don't like it, do it. And you just, I feel like that was like a big thing that you taught me too. It's like, my parents obviously taught me that, but like, you guys all were just like, if you don't like something, then do not do it. Make sure, and just Gary said it too, like, don't just quit jobs if you have like plenty of bills to pay, but like, what are you applying for other jobs? Like, what are you doing in life that's getting you out of that situation? You cannot bitch about it if you're not doing anything at all
you don't get to complain if you're not trying to change it.
But how wild is it that the people who complain aren't doing things to change it?
That's usually what's,
why is that?
I think comfort? People are afraid of change. I think people are afraid of the unknown, of like going out of their comfort zone to find something different. I think that's the big question mark, is like, why are people so afraid of that when all it's going to do is make them happier?
I know, but that's what's so much, isn't that it? Like, is that what
they're like afraid they're going to let down a boss that doesn't even care about them?
I know. And that's what you would always say to me. Yeah. Even like with a friend, when you have to cancel plans, it's like, if you're worried about making them mad, like, are they going to be in your life 3 years from now? Like, what? Right. And you always say, like, in the grand scheme of life, how important is that?
Yeah. It's not.
And if you actually think about it, it's not. So why are we so okay with just not being happy?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's maybe one of the biggest takeaways from the entire thing is like, don't waste time doing things you don't like doing.
But I also think that like Gary's going into this, I wasn't like a huge Gary V. Like I just didn't know too much about him.
Yeah.
But like even going to VCon, like it's a limited amount of people that can go because you have to have like
the ticket from the NFT.
The NFT. And it's like when you would see some of these really famous speakers, you could get close to them because it wasn't like a full house where you guys are like fighting to get good seats because it's so personal.
Yeah.
And when you look at how big of a production, like the stage was, the lighting was, like the outside venue, they had the freaking Grammys museum was shut down for the weekend for VCon. Like if you think about it from like a business perspective, how much money it probably cost to put on VCon, and then like how many attendees there were to like the scale of this big thing.
Yeah.
Like he is not just speaking, but he's like proof that like he's not in it. Like he's doing it because it makes him happy.
Yeah. And if he can change a couple people's perspective on their work life, then he's won.
I know. And like, it's crazy when he's doing this speech on the stage, like everyone can be so close to him when he's saying it because he purposely put on this huge production where you still feel like you're right there with him.
Yeah.
And what's really cool is during him speaking and saying like, you know, how he's talked to people this year who were previously unhappy and like they've quit the jobs and they've changed things in their lives. He actually had people stand up.
Yeah, there was like 15 of them.
I had goosebumps all over my body.
Cool.
He said, I like challenge you to like do things that'll change you being in that situation.
Yeah.
And I'm so curious at the next VCon if that'll come up. But even the night before we were at dinner and he showed up, which was not expected.
Yeah.
And he like was really touched at how many times he kind of like saw that recurring thing that during that weekend.
Yeah.
So, I forgot all about that until you brought it up. But like, it isn't like, how much money am I going to make from doing this? It's like,
no, how much happiness
he really
am I
does
going to
preach
make?
about happiness.
Yeah. Like happiness is so much more important than any amount of money.
People say it, but like,
people don't live it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think he embodies like living it too, which is very rare for someone of that like
That's why he gets to work early and leaves late because he literally just loves what he does.
Or drives 30 minutes across
I've seen
town.
him streaming at like 11:30 p.m. while he's working. And I'm like, he just loves it. You know, like I do too. That's why I'm in bed at midnight sitting on my laptop doing work.
But what do you love more? Do you love
it.
working more or do you love enjoying like life more? Do you think they're equal?
They're not equal, but I find enjoyment out of both of it. Like I find enjoyment out of progressing the work and like opening new locations, giving people more opportunities.
Yeah.
Getting more tour guides because of that, giving back more money because of that. Mm-hmm. But like when we go on a vacation or hang out with the dogs or go, bring the dogs kayaking or whatever, like that stuff is so much fun. And so like I enjoy both of that, but like at midnight, I can't necessarily go kayaking with my dogs, but I can do some work stuff that I find somewhat enjoyable,
And to be real, it funds the life. It funds it. Like you enjoy it. How lucky are you that you are doing something every day that like also funds like this incredible life that we can
that's the sweet spot. If you find something that you can make money and you're happy doing, you've won.
And you've always said that since day one.
Yeah. So like, and I'm always just like, it's only kayaking at the end of the day. If you're that stressed out about it, like, you also got to look at the other side. Like the happiness part is cool, but when it is tough, you also have to understand that like, we're not like rocket scientists or doctors. Like we're just providing a fun experience for people.
And what's also, just to point out, there's been times like where like if I get stressed out with kayaking stuff, because business can be stressful at some points, like even in our industry, we work on, like I'm a franchisee of yours. You do say that you're like, if you don't enjoy it, then don't do it. Like you don't just say it to like other things. You say it like as soon as it doesn't become, we say it to our tour guides. As soon as you stop enjoying being a tour guide,
you're not having fun anymore.
I will support you doing anything as long as you're happy. So I think practicing what you preach is so important. I feel like you do that like on the reg.
Yeah, if I ever stop enjoying this, I would find something else, but I haven't stopped enjoying it and it's been 8 years. So like even going into kayaking, I thought I was going to be a tour guide the rest of my life. I never thought I was going to go do this. Like I literally was like,
you are the bread and butter of the business.
Yeah. Like, and I still right now would be happy if I was doing tours and not making what I'm making now and still just being happy doing what I'm doing, you know?
I think you need to have me on here more often.
Yeah.
We have how long has it been since we started filming?
I know it's been a while.
It's been a minute. So I feel like we could talk for hours, but we won't talk
I feel like you need your own podcast at this point. I think you would like your own podcast.
I think so too. I have a lot to say, apparently. I told you that was one of my skills.
I know, but I think you would like your own.
Yeah,
you would
probably.
have fun doing it.
Yeah, I think it's so much fun. I could talk for hours.
Yeah. Well, you should just like set this room up to where.
Okay, don't get carried away now. We already have one room in that house.
Yeah, you have your own podcast room? That would be awesome.
Well, for the next home that we build.
Yeah.
We'll have a farm in Idaho or Wyoming that has a podcast room. We could fly people out. Yeah.
Perfect.
I can have the cows on.
So what you're saying is we need to do more podcasts together.
Yeah. I like it. I think I love it.
And we don't get to debrief like this.
No.
We do at dinner and randomly when we're in bed talking or hanging out talking, but not directly for, an hour and a half of like just going deep into it. So it's fun. It's fun. And you're good at talking and listening.
What a skill.
Your superpower.
Yes.
All right. Signing off. T and J.
Yeah.
Is that what we call ourselves? J and T? T and J?
The Bootsies.
The Bootsies. Peace.
There you have it, guys. The end of the debrief of the Vyve by Vayner program with Tia. Had a really fun time recording this with her. I think you guys can probably see that through the camera. It was fun. Our dogs kind of hopped in and out in the background from time to time and gave us a little bit of distraction. But this was really fun being able to go backwards and reflect on the experience. And moving forward, I'm still part of what they're calling the Elevate program now. It's kind of the ongoing monthly thing for another year that we're going to be a part of. So really looking forward to that. They've actually invited Tia to be a part of that as well. So we're kind of going into it as like a package deal and being able to continue these learnings that we've been having from Vyve and the community that they've built already. And really excited. So thank you guys for sticking around for all 3 parts. Hope you enjoyed it and hope it was a little valuable for you guys to be a fly on the wall while we kind of debriefed about my experience with Vyve. Thanks again. See ya.